But what do you say we do a little post game with a post game as always? This time it's taped and it's currently 3:09 a.m. Eastern. So hopefully by the time you're consuming this, it's a more reasonable hour. But welcome inside the channel. I'm Bobby Trosset. As always, you know the drill. This is where I bring you Baltimore sports and beyond. It's brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. Ravens survive in advance. They are on to the divisional round. They await their opponent. It'll either be the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo or another home game in the divisional round coming up next weekend against the Houston Texans. 28-14 is the final. Pittsburgh is one and done. They are reeling. They lost 5 in a row to finish the 2024-2025 campaign. And what a night it was in Baltimore. I just have to tell you, thanks to all of you who joined the postgame show. We had like 8,000 concurrents. Thanks to all of you who made time and drove in from God knows where. I remember meeting AP, who drove in from Detroit with his girlfriend to be at my tailgate at Be More Around Town. Like, that meant a lot. I was really grateful to meet so many of you in person. And I just wanted to say thank you right off the top of this show. Lots to get to, of course, in the aftermath of this one. It was an utterly dominant performance. The Ravens just controlled the line of scrimmage, were stout at the point of attack, and utterly dominated this game on the ground. It was a smash mouth football kind of strategy. The Pittsburgh Steelers had no answer, and Jeff Zrebiec summed it up well here. Protecting a 2-touchdown fourth quarter lead, the Ravens held the ball for over 12 minutes of the fourth quarter, 12:22 to be exact. Pittsburgh had it for just 2:38, 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Again, fitting way to finish a game that the Ravens dominated physically. Good stuff there from Jeff. You want to know the final numbers on time of possession? Holy, it's night and day. The Ravens possessed the football for over 39 minutes. 39 minutes and 5 seconds to be exact. Pittsburgh had it for 20 minutes, 27 seconds. On top of that, the Ravens were just moving the chains all throughout the evening. They were 10 for 15 on third down. They played clean football, no turnovers. Penalties-wise, a couple things to clean up, but ultimately just 3 for 14 to Pittsburgh, 7 for 41. So that's going to win you a lot of games. It did for the Ravens, and that is why they are moving on. Mike Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. That streak continues. He had to try to put this thing into words post-game.
You know, congratulations to the Ravens, man. They were the better group today. That was obvious. And really, you know, the X factor was Lamar's unique talents. It seems like every time we got him behind the sticks, he made up for it, or we got him in a possession down circumstance. He extended and won those circumstances, and we never really found a fluid answer all day. Obviously, that was highlighted by our inability to convert third downs in the first half, and they wore us down a little bit. The fatigue component of it became a factor. And so, you know, you can sum it all up to say that they were certainly the better group today.
The fatigue component became a factor. That's interesting, because if you go back and watch the highlights, there were a couple plays that we will get to in just a second where it kind of felt like Pittsburgh Steelers players were making business decisions, and Patrick Queen is one of those. This was a boat race. You heard the quote. Congrats to the Ravens. They were the better group today. That was obvious. The X factor was Lamar's unique talents. They wore us down a little bit. The fatigue component of it became a factor. And so I think the headline here is Derrick Henry's numbers and a historic first postseason debut in Baltimore, but a ringing endorsement from Mike Tomlin to Lamar Jackson. MV3 is on deck. Let's be clear. We'll learn at NFL Honors first week of February who the 50 distinguished voters ended up choosing for NFL MVP, but it sure looks like it's all but finalized that Lamar is a shoo-in. Kurt Bankert, former NFL quarterback, tweeted out in-game that Lamar's the most talented player in NFL history, also referred to him as this year's MVP. The final stat line for Lamar, 16 of 21 through the air for 175 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns. He was sacked just once, had a final quarterback rating of 132 flat, and an 84.2 QBR. And then on the ground as well, 15 carries for 81 yards, a long of 20, and he averaged 5.4 per carry, including 5 straight runs at one point in the opening quarter. Todd Monken essentially dared Pittsburgh to do something about Baltimore's rushing attack, and quite frankly, they had no answers. Even Nick Wright was giving out Lamar flowers post-game. He tweeted, "Great game by Henry, obviously. More importantly, the first playoff game of Lamar's career where he's looked like regular season Lamar from the opening snap. And overall, his second good playoff game ever. Of course, last year in the divisional round against Houston, pretty darn good playoff game, especially in that second half. Great sign as the Ravens look awesome heading to Buffalo." Nick Wright, a positive Nick Wright, talking about the Ravens in a positive light. You're probably going to want to screenshot that and file it away because that is notable. And Lamar was exceptional tonight. Just a certain level of comfort that showcased his poise, showcased his precision, and overall, being that a major topic of conversation this week on the national side of things was him being antsy leading into postseason games. I mean, you can scoff at that one. Lamar was asked about exactly that by reporters this week, and those comments, of course, were completely overblown, misrepresented. Of course, Mike Florio referred to him as nervous. Well, I think there's a difference between antsy and nervousness. I felt like Lamar's comments were taken out of context, and he addressed that post-game. I was just chill. I was eager throughout the week, but when the day came, I was just cool throughout the day. I didn't get on the phone. I didn't want to talk. My mom called me, and I said, "I don't want to talk. No disrespect, never disrespect, but I don't want to talk. I'm just ready for the game. Let me get to the game." I didn't want to play around or smile. That's what it's going to be each and every time. Well, I'm hoping, and probably I'm sure majority of Ravens Nation is hoping, that Felicia Jones, his dear mother, continues to be listened to, because since she, I should say, cussed him out after the Philadelphia loss December 1st, the Ravens have been rolling. Look at what Lamar's done since the Week 14 bye week. An adjusted completion rate of 75% flat. He's thrown for over 1,000 passing yards, over 300 rushing yards, 15 total touchdowns, and just 1 pick. He has been exceptional, and they used him quite a lot. Make no mistake about it. He was used early and often tonight, and as a result, he'll be going into this week and maybe even his off day tomorrow, hopefully seeking some treatment. He did take a knee to the back. He was asked about it and how it affected him during the game, and he was quoted for saying post-game, "I'm good. It really didn't affect me at all, to be honest with you. It's just a little nag, but I'm good. Nothing to worry about." And as Sarah quoted here, he did look and appear to be in some pain. There was some overhead camera shots of the Prime broadcast crew of him in the huddle, and he was kind of like leaning over and looked like he was just in considerable amounts of pain. And then the broadcast, Kaylee Hartung, the sideline reporter, mentioned that he had his torso wrapped at points when he would go to the sideline, had a heating pad working to keep it loose on a cold night in Baltimore. So that'll definitely be something to watch, of course, going into next week and the divisional round. But make no mistake about it, he still found a way to play make, and almost as if the adrenaline carried him over the top. An impressive display of fortitude, willpower, and ultimately Lamar being inevitable. The guy has a relentlessness about him, a competitive spirit, a competitive nature that is really hard to replicate. What's hard to defend is the duo of 2 bona fide first ballot future Hall of Famers, and that is Lamar and King Henry. Derrick made his postseason debut as a Raven and did not disappoint whatsoever. How about what these two did combined in the first half? 24 carries, 164 rushing yards, 6.8 yards per carry, and a touchdown. Pittsburgh had no answer. This was never really in doubt right out of the gate. 299 total rushing yards. That's the most single game statistic, rushing yards wise, in franchise playoff history. Derrick finishes with 186 total on 26 carries, 2 touchdowns, and my oh my, the next gen stats pop off the page at you. 12 missed tackles forced, 157 yards after contact. Ridiculous numbers from the King, who's an ascending player. I feel like a broken record, de-aging at 31. Another year under contract, of course. But what he and Lamar have done in the backfield, man, it felt like TJ Watt was a non-factor out there. We'll have more on him in just a second because he didn't even show up in the box score. For real. By the way, some numbers too. The Ravens have 164 yards in the first half. That was the most rushing yards they ever had in a first half in a playoff game in franchise history. They averaged 357 yards and 16 points per playoff game since 2018. At halftime, they had 308 yards and 21 points. So this is a juggernaut right now. The way this thing is setting up just puts them in a position where they're going to be a tough out. And the Steelers just did not have an answer. Patrick Queen made a business decision on this 44-yard touchdown run by Derrick Henry. If you get him downhill, if you get him going vertically, good night. You have to challenge Lamar and Derrick laterally if you want a chance. And he just ran away from the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Kind of an embarrassing effort, to be quite honest with you. And that'll be a tough watch for the Steelers when they get to the film room. And this stiff arm on Minkah Fitzpatrick was just illegal. It was legal. Believe me, it was legal. But this was violent. This was vicious. And this was the King doing what he does best. Deshaun Elliott quoted for Postgame, having 300 yards rushing on you is worse than having 300 yards passing. They definitely put belt to butt today. That from the former Raven, Deshaun Elliott, on his team's performance. The King, there were two stiff arms that certainly were memorable. This was one of them. And what Isaiah Likely did, by the way, on Cameron Sutton, that's worth a watch. You'll probably want to go back and check out the highlights to go get that one. Isaiah Likely thought he had a nice, quiet night that was very impactful. 3 receptions for 53 yards, including a long of 25. Some dirty work opening up lanes for Derrick Henry. Isaiah continues to be such a dynamic player. And is there a better 1-2 punch in a team's tight end room around the league than what Baltimore has in Isaiah and Mark Andrews? What a luxury to have those two guys. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. At Preston, Bobby Baltimore subscribers receive 2 exclusive offers, $500 towards a new or pre-owned vehicle, or when you buy 4 tires, you'll receive 50% off your alignment. You've got over 2,000 vehicles to shop from. Home delivery is available. You'd be joining the Preston team along with myself. I'm a brand ambassador, of course. Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton, tight end Mark Andrews, and many more throughout Baltimore and beyond. Choose to work with Preston. Man, they got so much going on at Preston. They are the lead title sponsor, by the way, at the Be More Around Town tailgate. Who knows? Maybe there'll be one more this year. The Ravens get another home game, and they end up hosting the Houston Texans. There will be another one. You can go to the link that I have included in the show notes. It'll take you right to my landing page. My favorite spot to go to, since they have over 2,000 vehicles to shop from, is the inventory section. You can search by make, model, keyword, price, vehicle condition, year, make, location, so on and so forth. You know, I've been driving around my 2023 Ford Bronco Sport with the Bobby Baltimore decal on the back. Love it. Love it this time of year. The remote starter, you can start up on an app, get it all warm and stuff. Heat warmers, great in the snow. Cars cost less with Preston. You can get started today by visiting PrestonMotor.com or just simply scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner. And a continued shout out and thanks to Preston Automotive Group for their belief in what I'm building as we approach 25,000 subscriptions, which is certainly notable here inside the channel. I appreciate you guys for being here. Hopefully the day after is treating you well. Roquan Smith treating himself well, having a good time, getting back to what he does as a wordsmith through the media. Kyle Phoenix quoting him for, quote, I guess he got the T-shirt he got on and he'll be in Cabo or somewhere. Roquan mentioning how former teammate turned Steeler Patrick Queen said he wanted a hat and T-shirt the last time they played. And on top of that, quote, we're just getting started. That was just an appetizer. Roquan in vintage form with the media postgame. Here he is, courtesy of Fox 45 and Morgan Adsit, with that first quote that Kyle tweeted out.
For a reason, and it's very simple. I think I remember my guy PQ saying it was. I think the last time we played him was a hat and T-shirt, but I guess he get the T-shirt he got on, and he'll be in Cabo somewhere. But he's still my guy. Much love.
Oh, never change, Ro. He's feeling himself post game. Who knows? Maybe he went out to Fed to have himself a little bit of a night. I know he's been known to do that in the past. Run that back once more. Agent Zero feeling himself.
The game is played for a reason, and it's very simple. I think I remember my guy PQ saying it was. I think the last time we played him was a hat and T-shirt, but I guess he get the T-shirt he got on, and he'll be in Cabo somewhere. But he's still my guy. Much love.
You know, when Ro's talking post-game, he's feeling like he's back to himself and coming off an all-pro campaign, Pro Bowl campaign. Why wouldn't you? Roquan, not mincing words post-game, having a little bit of fun with his former teammate, PQ, who just finished up his first year in Pittsburgh. Man, speaking of a breakout year, that is, I'm not saying PQ had a breakout year in Pittsburgh, but I know our Darius Washington did in Baltimore, and he has taken this opportunity that Marcus Williams benching has presented him and run with it. And Richard Sherman, who's on the Amazon broadcast and was a damn good corner himself, defensive back himself during his time in the league, made sure to acknowledge what our Darius has been up to. He referred to him as the most underrated player on this Ravens defense. He's a big factor in this turnaround since week 11. And how about the hit stick that he put on our on Pat Freiermuth? That was one of the plays that honestly, it's probably my favorite play. It led to a 3-and-out. And not only was it great technique, but Pat Freiermuth is built like a tight end. Our Darius is built like me. Average dude. 5'8", $180 on a good day. I don't weigh that much, but he's 5'8", $180. I mean, that's just, I want it more than you, and I'm living and dying out here. I love what our Darius Washington brings to this team. I love the fact that he and Kyle Hamilton are running mates, and I love the fact that a negative was turned into a positive. A negative is that the third highest cap hit player is benched and been a non-factor all year long in Marcus Williams. The positive is that a former undrafted rookie who's dealt with his fair share of injuries over the last few years is developing right before our eyes and is somebody that's become a coveted piece to Baltimore's defense, and that is exactly who and what our Darius Washington is for this group. Another guy who is putting the finishing touches on a stellar first year in this league is rookie right tackle Roger Rosengarten. And of course, he went viral on Hard Knocks last week for essentially calling himself and referring to himself as a nobody and asking for Myles Garrett's jersey. Of course, Cleveland star pass rusher. Well, in his NFL playoff debut, he spent most of the game up against TJ Watt, perennial candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. And guys, TJ did not record one single statistic. His final stat line, 63 snaps, 1 pressure, 0 sacks, 0 tackles, and 2 misses. One of which he literally tackled Derrick Henry, and Lamar kept it and went the other way. They made TJ Watt look like an average Joe, which is very difficult to do. I know he's been banged up. I know he faces his fair share of double teams, but that's a win. This was an offensive line that dominated the point of attack, that dominated the line of scrimmage, and they played like it. And then on the flip side, defensively, this is a number 1 ranked rushing attack defense that held Pittsburgh to 29 total yards on the ground. Najee Harris maybe just played his last game as a Steeler, had 17 yards on 6 carries. They made the Steelers one-dimensional. Pickens had 5 receptions for 87 yards, a lot of which was due to some breakdowns with Brandon Stevens. Nate Wiggins had a rookie moment, allowing Pickens to beat him off the line and then go on the outside, gaining leverage, and then he took it to the house. Van Jefferson obviously also picked on Brandon Stevens. So, if I'm thinking about things going into the divisional round that need to be shored up, it's Brandon Stevens not having such a large target on his back. It's Jordan Stout from a special teams perspective being more consistent. And who's going to be your punt return specialist? Aside from that, you get Zay healthy, and maybe his chances are 50-50 or an outside chance. I don't know. We'll learn more about that in the coming days for the divisional round. Maybe he needs another week. Who knows? But those things aside, and I'm not discounting any of those things, they need to be shored up, especially in do or die postseason games. There's going to be obviously closer games than what we just watched here. You got to feel really good about the way this thing is setting up. And if they end up in New Orleans, of course they'll have earned it. But this is a group that's peaking at the right time, that's ripped off 5 straight wins, that's likely going to be going to Buffalo, a team that they manhandled on Sunday Night Football at their place in Baltimore in late September, if memory serves. And then from there, let's see what happens. Let's see what Kansas City comes out of the bye week like. And let's see if the Ravens can continue this momentum, because right now they're in a position where the only team that can give them fits is honestly themselves. And if they're doing what they did tonight, and you have a passing attack, and you get Zay Flowers back outside of that, wow. More full game, post game analysis can be found over on the Vault. We had a fantastic late night stream, early morning stream technically, so you can check out that more in detail. I appreciate you guys for being here. Like the video if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're dropping our daily content. Would love for you to learn more about Preston Automotive Group, one of my longest standing sponsors. I'll probably be live at some point later today. It is now 3:30 a.m., so I'm going to go and try and catch some shut-eye, and we got more wild card football to watch coming up later today. Thanks for being here, guys. As always, we'll catch up with you soon. Later.